What's up, YouTube? Welcome to Cool Nerd Show. I'm Steve Trezza, and this is my review of The Flash Season 3, Episode 2. I believe the title is called Paradox. So in the last episode, which was the Flashpoint episode, the premiere, Barry went back and screwed up the timeline, as always, and now he's trying to fix it, so he goes back in time again, only to find that the timeline is still not the same from when he had left to Season 2. I definitely liked this episode a lot more than the premiere. I thought the premiere was just a little bit underwhelming. I thought it was going to be something that it wasn't. If you've read the Flashpoint comic, I thought it was going to be a little bit more like that. Not to a T, because you got a lot going on there with Batman and the war between the Amazons and the Atlanteans. I obviously wasn't expecting that from the series, but I did want to see Robert Queen, Oliver Queen's father, play the Arrow in the Flashpoint arc rather than Oliver, kind of like an homage to the Flashpoint story where Thomas Wayne played Batman rather than Bruce Wayne. And we didn't get that, so I am a little disappointed at that. This is perfect. They set it up perfect, and they could have done it, but they didn't. I'll stop talking about the actual Flashpoint comic arc now. If you're more interested in that, check out the video that I created on that a couple of weeks ago. So Flash's actions did affect the Arrow timeline, though, as we see that he goes to Felicity to talk about what had happened with her. Because they do have that friendship connection, and everything is still different, not drastically different, but still a little bit different. He does have a new partner, Julian Dorn. Iris and Joe don't talk. Cisco's brother is dead, and Diggle has a son instead of a daughter. More on this later in the review. So Barry does try to patch things up, which at times was a little comedic, especially at that part where he was kind of flashing between Iris and Joe, and he kept running between them and trying to figure out a plan to get them all to come to Joe's house for dinner. I did think that was a little funny that they did that within the episode. Now, as the Flash always does, is that things don't work out as Barry had planned, and then they see that a new speedster is in town. So the rival is back from episode 1. Alchemy, or Dr. Alchemy, as the team names him at the end of the episode, gave him his powers back. And I did like the effects with the fight that was going on. I thought that they were really cool. I thought that the tumble that the rival had taken after Barry kind of shoulder checked him and he tumbled through the city, I thought that was a really cool effect in the way that they did that. One thing I didn't like was Iris kind of complaining when it was just kind of drama for the sake of drama, and they do that a lot in Arrow. And if you watched my other review on Supergirl or watched my other reviews during the show, you'll notice that I really hit on Arrow a lot, and I hate on it a lot just because the writing for the past couple seasons has just been absolutely awful. And the first few seasons was really good, and then they just kind of turned Felicity into this huge bitch. And I kind of noticed the similar writing with Iris when she was complaining to Barry about how he's hiding something from her. It was just something that was completely unneeded. I don't even think the episode needed it. They just kind of had drama for the sake of having drama. But then we did get to see Jay Garrick, and Jay Garrick kind of just showed up and had this almost father-son talk with Barry. And even though he's not his actual father, he's just the doppelganger, they are portraying him as a father figure to Barry. And I actually really like that, because that at times can be what happens in the comics. Jay Garrick is the older, wiser man than Barry Allen, and he definitely filled that role and played that role. And I really like this a lot. I actually hope that we get to see more of Jay Garrick show up in episodes, or maybe show up on Legends of Tomorrow with the Justice Society of America coming in. If you don't know, Jay Garrick is a member of them, so I definitely think he should be on that show. I'd love to see him be a series regular. And I like how the series actually didn't change it back to the way it was. We're actually left with this kind of new timeline now. I'm sure that things will seem like it's back to the way they were in the past seasons. The actors will probably kind of act the same and whatnot. But I like how we're here and we're going to keep going and moving on with this timeline, and everyone's going to have to deal with it. I can see how some people wouldn't like that, but I actually think that that's kind of brave for them to do that. So now Barry's new partner is Julian Dorn, and we don't really know much about him. We just know that him and Barry don't get along. I think it would be a little too obvious to make him Dr. Alchemy, who also we don't really know much about yet. But I think that if he is Dr. Alchemy, I think that's kind of too on the nose. But who knows, because they did that with the Reverse Flash. Tom Felton is a great actor, and I think that he's going to be a series regular. I don't know if he will become another villain, or maybe he'll find out who Barry is, and then he'll actually become another kind of sidekick hero and help out. His character can really go either way. So in the final confrontation with the rival, we see that Barry and Cisco bury the hatchet. Vibe comes out to save him, and they team up. I thought that was awesome. I hope we get to see more of Vibe. The only thing that I have a question for is, how did he get there so fast? Because he kind of just showed up, unless it's really right next door, and even that is kind of quick for him to get over there. He's obviously not a speedster. He just kind of showed up. So I was thinking about that. It was literally maybe like not even a minute had gone by when they noticed that Barry was in trouble, and then all of a sudden Vibe just kind of shows up and saves the day. We also got a mention of more speedsters. Barry said that that whoever had abilities in the Flashpoint timeline, looks like Alchemy is making those people have abilities again. So it looks like Wally West is going to get his speed powers back. He's definitely going to show up and become Kid Flash in the long run. I don't know if it's going to happen anytime soon, but it looks like it will happen later on in the season. And then if you stayed around to watch the preview for next week, it looks like we are going to get Jesse Quick. And that is something that everyone has been speculating before the season had got started. The only thing that I am a little worried about is that it might become overcrowded. Again, going back to the way that Arrow did, going from season 2 into season 3, where everyone's a superhero. I really don't like that. I really like where you get one, maybe occasionally 2, 3 heroes in there. I don't think we need Barry, Wally, Jesse, Vibe all to have powers and fight together. I think that's a little too overcrowded and it's a little too much. Save that for shows like Legends of Tomorrow where everyone has powers. And then we also saw Killer Frost at the end, or we saw a hint towards Killer Frost with Caitlin, and she has this kind of worried face on. Now, my only gripe with this is it doesn't really make sense, because the timeline didn't, although it changed, in Caitlin's mind, she's still the same. Unless something had just happened recently, she kind of has this worried face on, like this is something new for her, that she's just finding out these abilities. And if she had these abilities for a while now, which that would suggest because she's been living in this timeline, she shouldn't really have this like concerned face on. So it didn't really make sense to me that she's just discovering these powers now, unless they're just manifesting now and she's discovering them. But it's definitely not the last time that we have seen Killer Frost. We will definitely see her in future episodes as well. Now back on what I was talking about before with Diggle, I just think it's a little funny and a little awkward that they're just kind of changing babies. Now he's going to have a son instead of a daughter. Stephen Amell did say that Flashpoint may affect Arrow in a couple of minor ways, and that it would affect Diggle the most. So I think this is exactly what he was talking about. The only thing that, again, doesn't really make sense to me is that some people do watch these shows individually. Some people do watch Arrow, and they don't really follow up with what's going on Flash unless there's, say, a crossover. And if you're just one of an Arrow watcher, and then all of a sudden Diggle has a son instead of a daughter, it might get a little confused. But it's not anything super serious and that really affects the main story arc. So I guess that's where they're going with this. So that's my little quick review here of the Flash Season 3, Episode 2. I'm going to try and do these reviews every week. I did one for Supergirl yesterday. If you go over to our channel, Cool Nerd Show, and check that out. If you are interested in a more in-depth discussion about The Flash and Supergirl and Arrow and Legends Tomorrow and all the shows that we watch throughout the week, we do a live Nerdcast on YouTube, so you can check us out. We're live every Friday around 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, New York time. Sometimes we go on a little bit late, but check us out on the live show. You can comment in the chat. We will shout you out. We always interact with the chat, take people's questions, and just kind of interact with fans and give our kind of overview of what had happened in the nerd world with nerd news and reviews throughout the week. So check us out on the Cool Nerd Cast. If you haven't already, please like, favorite, and subscribe. And I will see you guys on all of our other videos.